What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Ordinary Freaks. B and Eddie here, and I know if you've missed us, we've been in a little bit of a hiatus, but I promise you the episodes are going to come back, and they're going to come back stronger than ever. But let's get back into it. This week's guest is a business entrepreneur, founder of a media agency called Social Dough, co-founder of the 2916 Collective. So please help me in welcoming Tim Marchant. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Everything you guys are doing is super dope. People might not be able to see, but I have some of my friends here, and everybody that is here right now really messes with what you guys are doing. And we're just excited to see you guys grow.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Definitely means a lot.
And we're excited for you. So I want to get right into it. What is 2916? What is Social Dough? Where did this come from? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like I've been pretty much an entrepreneur all my life. I've worked, so maybe I was a wantrepreneur a lot of my life. But I've done everything. Like when I was younger, I bought some server space for Ventrilo, and I started selling that to gamers, and that's just voice over IP, so gamers can communicate with each other. To T-shirts, to just kind of dabbling my feet with a lot of different things. I've always been really into marketing and psychology and what makes people do things.
Right.
So the agency came apart because I started to get really good with Facebook ads. So I guess I'm going to start with Social Dough because that leads into 2916.
Okay.
So Social Dough came first, and I got really good with Facebook ads. I started running tests with one of my first clients, and I know I've talked to you guys about it before, but we did $400 in ad spend and turned that into $14K profit. Wow. At that point, I knew I was onto something. So I took other friends and kind of brought them, as subcontractors, and everyone kind of just helped out each other. And now it's a 7-man team running different things around Milwaukee, different bars, restaurants, as well as more courses now. That's the big thing. Once you can dominate a course and it's just on autopilot, for that client, it's just money that keeps coming in.
Right.
Yeah, so that's Social Dough. Now, 2 of the videographers for 2916, I would subcontract them all the time because they're in my opinion, 2 of the best guys in Milwaukee, up there, right? There's plenty of talent, but I think they're up there with the best. And so we got together and we were going to create 2916 Collective, which we ended up doing, but it was going to be a collective of businesses, and it was going to be powered by Social Dough and Untitled Art Project, which is Edwin's company. And then there were some other businesses that were going to kind of come together too. Ended up not working out, and then it ended up being me, Edwin, and Yanni. And what we're going to do is eventually merge Social Dough and his videography company under one title, 2916 Collective. So in that 2916, we have a video production arm, a marketing arm, and then we're working on launching our media arm. So we're heavily inspired by Vice. We're not going to be Vice, but we like what they're doing, and we kind of want to do that in Milwaukee. For anybody watching, we released the video on Bird. Have you guys seen that one?
Of course.
So that was our journalistic approach to what we want to do. So you're definitely going to see more of that.
Gotcha. And so I'm curious in this. You say you were interested in entrepreneurship, but so the media, the Facebook ads, was all that self-taught? How did that come about? Just school? What?
Yeah, I feel like everything I've done, I've kind of taught myself. So I've always been curious about everything. So when it came to Facebook ads, I just kind of dove right in. Fortunate enough to find the right courses. I know there's a Ty Lopez course going around and everyone's doing it, and they think that they're this magical, marketer.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder for the real marketers because every business has been burned by 2 or 3 people. So it makes the sales process a little harder. But
gotcha.
In the same thing, since I've been working on my own, I had to get better at sales. And that's been like a really fun learning process.
I definitely want to go a little deeper, behind the story. We first met at a hashtag event. Shout out to J-Matt for hosting those, making a great thing for the city and stuff. But then we met, on a kind of one-on-one private session, and we kind of started talking about, obviously the podcast, right?
Right.
And can you go a little bit more into detail about your turning point from who you were as a kid in the Bay Area to the Tim that we see now?
Yeah, sure. Since we met, there's a big process there. Is there a specific part that you want me to get to?
Brief it. So
okay, so
hit points.
I didn't even touch on this, but I grew up in San Francisco, California. My parents moved here when I was 15. I was getting into a lot of trouble. I don't like talking about this part of my life, but I wasn't like getting into like serious problems or anything like that, but definitely like I was kicked out of school like in California. My parents moved me here to get away from certain situations. One of my best friends in San Francisco got beat by like 50 people with pipes. Like is a gang kind of thing. And he's like, oh, he's not the same, he's messed up. So that was like why my parents ended up finally deciding to moved here. I was still getting in trouble. I wasn't going to school, getting kicked out a lot. And yeah, that was like
So were you just rebellious just to be rebellious? Or were you like, I really don't like the attitude towards school, like going through the mold and stuff?
Yeah, I think it was more of that. Like even when I wasn't in school, I was learning. Like it's crazy because like I grew up like as a gamer. I played the same game for like 10 years. I traveled and competed in playing Counter-Strike. And the thing is, like, those are some of the smartest people I know to this day. Like, we're all so curious on there, and we're always on our computers, so we're always like trying to figure out new things, when we're not playing games together. And so I've always been curious. I've always been learning, reading, growing. But I think honestly, like a big turning point for like serious growth and a serious look at myself was my brother's passing. Yeah. So 2011, I lost my brother to suicide. And I think that's why you brought up J-Matt and hashtag. And like, I love what he's doing with the push-up challenge every day. Shout out to J-Matt too. But yeah, that's still something that I mean, that's never going to go away, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's something that like, it was like someone just shook me like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
get your shit together.
Get your shit together. Like,
right.
you gotta figure something out. And it was just a wake up call. I mean, my brother was really young, so it's like this all could be gone right away. I mean, it doesn't have to be suicide. You could walk across the street, get hit by a car. It could be anything. So like now, I try to take charge of like every day, and like I'm not saying like every day I'm just crushing it, and but I'm trying. And the days, I'll catch myself like in a slump or something, and I'll be like, dude, you got to figure this out. And now it's like always there. It's like a reminder, like you got things to do, Yeah.
I think me, etiquette, back to sub, but the importance of a team or partner for us, I guess would be partner for you's team. Coming right off the back, you mentioned your squad, who you're here with. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of the team, having that strong team, and you guys' roles in the team? Do you guys have specific? You guys know your roles? How does that usually work, or how is the dynamic with you guys in general?
Yeah. So, I mean, teamwork like makes everything work. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Right.
So, I learned that in the beginning of my agency. So with Social Dough, I was trying to do everything by myself, and I had talents everywhere. Like, I knew some graphic design, I knew some videography. I knew Facebook ads. I knew a little bit of everything, but it was too much. Like that, you can't scale like that.
Right.
So I needed to build a team, and that's why I have a team of subcontractors now that handle different tasks. But when it comes to 2916, we do have our roles, but it's not like we gave each other titles or anything.
Right.
So when we go out, we know what we're doing, we know what we're good at, and that's how we like kind of run things with 2916.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but as we grow, because we do have like a plan on growth. We know exactly like what everyone's going to be doing, and yeah, we want to scale that company big too. I mean, how many employees do you think Vice has?
Thousands.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Have you heard of his story of like the come up?
I don't think so.
I know this is way off subject, but
yeah.
like we're super big also like in obviously personal growth and, you know, try to develop ourselves the best possible. There's this good podcast on the dude itself. I forget his name, but it's a crazy, crazy story. I think you would relate a lot to it actually.
Shane Smith.
Yeah, it basically started as a magazine and then it kind of transformed into this whole like world that now is Vice, right? And like Vice 3 years ago was just like strict HBO type stuff. Now it's like they're everywhere, right? So, yeah, I mean, I definitely, I like how you mentioned that because it kind of dovetails nicely to like the next question I wanted to ask was that as an agency, and you just mentioned that you guys have spoke about growth and everything. Where do you guys see the future of like marketing, ads, storytelling in the social media world within the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, well, I think we might all have a little bit different perspective, but personally, like, I think we all know TV's dying. Like, I think we're gonna see the craziest like of like high production like visuals on our phones. It's just gonna. I mean, you see glimpses of it, right? Like some of the bigger brands will release like little things that come out, little shorts or crazy animations for an advertisement, and I think that's just gonna become more natural, and then that's just gonna, it's gonna evolve into something crazy.
Yeah, I think I feel that too. I don't know, especially with like IG, right, releasing their TV. I'm sure YouTube is planning something up their sleeve. I mean, they already have Red, they already have movies on there. So Netflix is also doing a lot of stuff that's like their own self-proprietary stuff. So I think I was reading an article and I forgot where, but it was like Netflix was saying that like they're trying to get more of the influence crowd too to actually get inside of it. But
you see that,
but they're not trying to like just get like the, you know, the Jake Pauls of the world, right, or like the Caseys of the world. They're trying to get like actual people that are serious about like indie films and all that stuff,
right,
to like back them up and like this is your platform for you to launch and like, you know, get Casey big in another world in the film industry, I guess you can say.
The talent on YouTube is crazy. In whichever direction you want to go, it's absolutely insane.
Right.
I know you guys asked the questions, but I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
So you brought up IGTV. What do you guys think about vertical video?
I honestly don't like it. But I think that's just my own personal like struggle with like composition and how does it work, right? Like if you're really trying to, it's really great on a personal level, right? When you're like, either not holding them, you don't have to hold a whatever recording device you're using, but I feel like once you start bringing it into like a side, like a production like this, right? Would it be interesting to see the ceiling and a lot of the floor, right? To get all three of us in the frame and it's like really tiny, probably not. But you know, for certain things, I think it's great. I mean, it's nice that you can consume right everything vertically, and you're like, oh, I don't have to fuss with like having my freaking hand over the speaker or whatever, right? It's convenient. But do I see it as a main thing? I don't know. I mean, I think the iPhone blew us away, right? Like we didn't know what the hell we were gonna do without a freaking keyboard. Like Blackberries or the shit. But then like this thing came up and it just blew our freaking brains out, right? Now we love it. So I think it's gonna. I mean, it's definitely turning heads. So
in a sense, I see it evolve. I mean, everything evolves. We went from the radio to TV. Now that's going away.
Right.
So I think I agree on Eddie's side with the composition, and you know, maybe it's not what we're used to, but I think it makes it a bit more personal in a sense that, you know, you have stories, you have all these things that our generation's into now. So it's just everyday things you do. You know, you wake up, some of us check your stuff, whatever it might be. So I think in a sense it makes it a bit more personal. I don't see it being part of like the film industry or anything like that, but to tell a story, to connect with someone, it's just like, oh, I've just seen another friend story, or what are they up to? So in a sense, I can see it making a bigger connection with people, a little bit more personal with it.
Yeah. I could also see us at an outlet of like diversifying their content, right? Where you're not just throwing everything in the same whatever aspect ratio and then throwing it on Twitter, blah, 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 blah. Where like IGTV, you have to purposely think and film for it, right? Because if not, you can straight up tell the pixels are there and you're like, that guy didn't do it right. So, no, for sure. That was a good question.
Do you have, I guess, in mind when it comes to mind, any specific projects that you worked on? Do you have a favorite project or anything that you guys done as in a collaboration when it comes to video, whatever it might be?
I think, so with Social Dough, I've actually been hired outside of the country by a company based in Milwaukee, but they took me to South America a few times. There's 3 different companies. So I think I've been to South America maybe 4 times through that. It wasn't with my new partners.
Right.
The videos would look a lot better if it was. But, I did what I could. And I mean, I had a lot of fun and I think I did a good job. But Edwin is the man with video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so we're in South America. So are you going to ask?
Yeah.
So Peru twice, Costa Rica, Ecuador twice. Oh, I guess it was more than that. Yeah, so 5 times.
5 times. Gotcha.
So what was the experience for? Like, were you just documenting?
Yeah, so
for that company.
The companies all run tours, so they would fly me out there. I would just like capture moments, people having a good time, and
I think you did tell me about that one.
Yeah, we have like a lot of footage stockpiled because there's an end goal with like a higher production kind of commercial, and that's where Edwin and Yanni will come in.
Get that post-production on
and dominate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's actually another. I was thinking back to the turning point, and I mean, there's more.
Yeah, I mean, we could be here for hours. Like, I feel like, and although you're very soft-spoken and very well-spoken, when we first had that, at least that one-on-one, like, I kind of went home like very heavy-hearted, right? Because it's like you felt what you were saying, and you were saying it with like very precise words where like it's one of those times when like you just definitely feel what the person was saying. And if we can definitely go back more into detail if you definitely want to. Like, I know you mentioned that previously too, that you don't really want to go back into your past, but I mean, we're game for everything, really.
Yeah.
So
there was another thing, and we talked about it. Like, I got into podcasts. Like, I used to have a podcast a few years ago. And I got into like the Rogans and like his whole circle of people. I was very interested in psychedelics, and like I still am. That's like something that I really am interested in, seeing all the like benefits coming out. You know, everything seems very, very, very positive. So I'm excited to see where that's heading. But on that, ayahuasca came up a lot, and even when I was hearing these, people talk about psychedelics, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go jump into this. I was just interested in it, and I started doing my own research and trying to figure out what it was all about. But this thing, ayahuasca, kept like coming up. And then like I would watch like documentaries on it, and I saw a lot of people healing with it. And not only was I looking for healing with my brother, but I was looking for purpose too. I think we all are, right? And we're all trying to grow every day. Yeah. But I ran into this character, DJ. He comes and goes in my life, and he's an alien. Like, that's the best way to kind of explain him. This is back when I was working at UPS years ago, and I met him. And the first day, I think I was telling him something that I really wanted to do. He's like, "What do you really want to do? Like something that you haven't done that you really want to do?" And I was like, I really want to do ayahuasca. And I briefed him on like what it was, and he was like, okay, well, let's do it. And he didn't really know much about it yet or anything, but months later, we're headed to the Amazon jungles of Peru, getting ready to take ayahuasca. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about what ayahuasca is. Yeah, sure. And it's a DMT containing tea that indigenous tribes have been, brewing for thousands of years. So they take a leaf that contains the DMT, and then it's not orally active because it gets broken up in your gut, but they found a way to use a branch that acts as an MAO inhibitor. So that way you can ingest it orally, and they create this tea that they've been using for, like I said, thousands of years. And you go on these psychedelic journeys for like eight hours or more. Yeah.
Wow.
So we, fast forward, we're on our way to the Amazon, and DJ's just like pushing me and
Are you cutting through jungle to get there? Like,
so there, it's funny because real quick, hopefully I can get this visual across, but he was making like the machete kind of motion, and I was eating breakfast in the jungle one of the days I was there, and all these people came by with machetes, and I was like, oh shit, my parents are right, like I'm dead.
Right.
But they're like farmers, and that's how they have to get through the dense areas, chop away. But for a second I was kind of terrified.
oh, I'm sure.
But the experience overall, even without ingesting the ayahuasca, just meeting the people that were all like on the same mission of growth and healing was incredible. Like I still talk to those people every few months, someone else comes up, and they're from all over the world. So it was really awesome. But for the nights, we actually ingested the tea. And I remember the first night I drank the ayahuasca, and a lot of people go through something called the purge, where they're puking a lot. And for me, it was more like tears. I was crying a lot. And they said people purge differently. So that was just my way of letting out whatever I had inside. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of lay down, and maybe an hour or so, the jungle starts coming to life. Like the sounds, you feel like you're a part of the jungle. And I remember the first night I was sitting there and I was like, yep, my parents are right. Like, what did I just drink? And I'm just laying here in the jungle with these strangers. Yeah, I'm not going to make it tomorrow. But once I got over that and I just let go, it was like one of the most magical experiences of my life. I can like sit here all day and try to explain different things, but it's an experience that
And it's so personal that it's like,
yeah,
you can't really even relate it with words. Yeah.
But in one of the 4 nights, and I only drank the tea 3 of the 4 nights because I couldn't. I don't know how the other people were. I was like, there's no way I can have like another trip like that.
Right.
And not only like the trip, but the taste, like it's so bad. Yeah. And it's really thick too.
Is it what type of is it sweet, sour type?
It's pretty bitter.
Is it?
Yeah. But one of the nights I can vividly remember, like, and like this might be woo woo for some people, but this is my experience and it's very special to me. But it was my brother like telling me like, you're good, like you're good, just like go for it. And he kept like saying that, and like after leaving there, like it's not like, oh, things are good, like it's all good now, but it's like I keep remembering that message, like, and it's something that makes me want to keep like pushing forward and like make him proud. Like for sure I want to make myself proud,
right? Yeah.
My family and stuff like that, but definitely for him too. Yeah.
That's deep. That's cool. Dang. So you go through the trip that 4th day as everybody's tripping balls, I'm sure. No, I'm just kidding. No, but obviously they're on the journey.
It is definitely.
What did you do then? Were you just reflecting upon kind of like the ending of this retreat, the treatment or whatever?
Yeah. So it was a week long. I think it was 7 days, 6 nights. So I had time, to myself and kind of figuring things out. But there was also, what I just remember now is the next day we would always have a circle and like talk about it. And it was the most vulnerable like I've ever seen people, including myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, tears all around, people expressing, like when you're driving and you got no music, those thoughts that like go through your head that you don't really talk about. That's what everybody was talking about.
Wow.
So it's like, it was insane.
That is pretty nuts. Man, that's definitely interesting now.
So do you get back, to the States, and is it full clarity? Kind of, you got an action plan? What's your first move getting back?
Getting back, my life since then has been a cartoon. That's like the way I like kind of describe it. I really I guess what's the first thing I did when I get back? I mean, I left my job like soon after that. I started traveling a lot. I had a kid. I still traveled with the kid. We were traveling with my kid, like road tripping when she wasn't even 1 year old yet. Like, wow. So I really got into travel, and I still love to travel, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that for work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, everything's been a cartoon, And I really try to like tune into those weird synchronicities, like when like something comes up and then this person is like, you see them here, and like I try to follow those things. And I have something in Evernote. Do you guys use Evernote?
We just basically use Drive, but
I know what it is. Yeah,
it's like a note app.
Yep.
And it's called Synchronicity Tracker. So like when those things start happening, I try to like document them and see, like try to find meaning in them and see like what it all means.
Yeah.
And it leads to some interesting scenarios.
Really?
Yeah. And even like, I feel like if you can learn how to like hack whatever is going on there, you can use that in business or like in your love life or whatever you're trying to improve.
You have a specific example you can share?
I mean, some of them are.
No, you don't have. It's cool. It's cool. Like I said, if you can, if not, it's cool. I don't want to put you on the spot.
You get where I'm going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get you.
They're all laughing at me right now.
Nah.
I know what they're thinking about, but all right.
No, I feel you. You touched a little bit on the plan. You know, the plan is expansion. The plan is going with your friends. But really, is there what really is, you know, the final vision? What is going to happen with your company, with yourself? Where do you see yourself in, you know, the next couple of years growing?
Yeah, so 2916, like I said, heavily Vice inspired. We want to do like basically get into journalism like in the Milwaukee area and then expand fast. You know, we just want to crush it. Like everybody wants to crush it, right? But we have an action plan and we're trying to move as fast as possible. If you look over at those guys are hungry and I'm hungry, and
Yeah.
I'm just really happy with the way things are going, and all we have to do is keep working at it like we are. And I have no problem seeing this company like grow into $1 billion company. No problem.
I like it.
That's dope. That's definitely dope. Before we move on to our regular segment of questions, something that we always ask, is there anything else you want to touch on? Something that, you know, you definitely want to talk about this?
I'll let you, because we talked a lot before. You can pick something. I just want to briefly talk about how cool, like, all the creators coming together in Milwaukee. It's like a really cool thing. Like this in general, like, and like J Matt's events, like they're blowing up, and like so many people trying to do cool shit, and like it's inspiring, right? You look around everywhere and someone trying to do something. So
Yeah.
I love it.
It definitely makes you hungry, right? It
Yeah.
makes you keep striving for that.
Right.
Yeah, and there's definitely more. I think it's helping. You know, there's more visibility now. I feel like people were kind of not hiding, but there wasn't a lot of awareness. Now everyone's like, yeah, I'm doing this too. Let's collaborate. Let's work together. So that's definitely dope.
Yeah. I think that was definitely a curve of like, I think artists are very guarded in that regard, right? And we touched on this in previous episodes where, you know, we mentioned that like art is sacred, right? You don't want to give up your secrets, but at the same time, like now, like no one's coming up to scoop you up and like take you to freaking New York or take you to Paris, right? We got to build that for ourselves. And the only way you got to build it is to have as many hands as possible. So that's why collaboration is key right now. Dude, but I really want to talk about, like, I know you just mentioned you guys are hella hungry. We're hungry. Everybody's hungry, right? We're trying to make something positive for the city, for ourselves, everything. Speak a little bit about being a dad and, like, within, you know, you trying to chase it for, I'm sure, not only yourself, but your daughter as well, right? Like, how does that play in the picture? Like, maybe walk through me with, like, a regular day of, like, your hustle versus, like, your kid.
Yeah, so I split time. So there's like the hustle mode, and then I can shut off. But even when I'm like shutting off, like, oh, it's nap time. Okay, shit, get the laptop, get going. I stay hungry. You know, I definitely have my time with her, and I'm fortunate enough to have more time with my daughter than most parents, just because that I am running my own business. But it is it was a struggle before, like, putting the laptop away. But now I got a lot better at that. But that, I mean, my daughter Nova is definitely like my biggest motivator, like no doubt. Like I'll hold her and just like, or even when it's the best when she comes up to me on her own and just squeezes me so tight or gives me a kiss, and I'm like, oh, I just start melting, and I'm like, yeah. So it's like, it's bigger than me now. You know, I got to do it for my brother, you know, I got to do it for Nova. And that's not to say I'm not doing it for myself. Like, don't get me wrong about that. But there's definitely like people in my life that I want to like do it for too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's great.
Anything else you want to know specifically on the dad part?
No, I mean, it's just, I've always been curious, you know, like, there's people that are like, oh, it's so hard, right? And I think that's them just making the excuse, but like, there's people like you, the examples, right? That it's like, it's fucking hard. Everybody knows that, but like, you gotta make it work. It's like any other relationship, but it's like so much more personal.
It's only as hard as you make it. Like,
Yeah.
it can be fun. And don't get me wrong, like, there's crazy stressful situations. Like, I know someone from high school, like one of her kids, I don't know the entire thing, but like, she's on a ventilator. She needs to like, she's like, it can be like that. But when things are normal, like, it's not that hard. Like, it's fun. It's fun. And I know that there's going to be parents like, oh, shit, he has no idea. I feel like I do, man, because I got to do a lot of stuff on my own. Yeah. You know?
Gotcha. All right. So we'll move to our segment of questions. That's a trouble child. I'm fucking with you. So what advice would you give to someone, you know, a kid coming out of high school, coming out of college, has no clue? Like, I think a lot of us kind of don't know what you want to do next. There's no guidance, you know. There's a mold that people want to follow. Go work corporate, go do this. Kid doesn't know what to do. What advice would you give that person?
I would say dabble in as many things as possible while you're young, and you can do everything. Figure, like, whatever you like. I mean, you're at least going to build a list of things you like and don't like, and then you keep, you know, building on the things you do and figure out what you really like, and maybe build something around that. I think that's what I would...
Just dabble.
What's the best advice you've gotten, and who has given it to you?
Best advice I've ever received. I mean, I think it's like, it's not like one thing. It's like getting your like morning routine down. And there's been like a few different people like talking about different, you know, ideas that go into that routine. So I can't like name someone specific, but getting like meditation and like cold therapy and a solid morning routine that like you do it and you know your day's primed. I think that's super important.
What's your your morning routine?
It changes. So
it?
like I have my Evernote like kind of like is my structure for the morning routine, but I'm not afraid. It's not like, oh, this is it for good.
Yeah.
But now it's meditation, stretching, and reading.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then cold shower. It's not always like right after that though.
Right.
So
yeah. Really, it's a book called The Miracle Morning. That's kind of where his name is Harold
Harold or something like that.
But that's what got me going on like morning routine as well too. And I agree, like once you start on that, like not if you deviate, but it really helps you get started. For me, it was like meditation, reading, and it was working out and breakfast, making sure I did those 4, and then I would be solid for the day. So I agree on that.
Meditation has been key for me, so I don't have to be so reactive. Yeah. And there's so many styles of meditation too.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on like what type of style, any advice for someone that might be getting into like that world of practice, and what would you recommend for them?
Well, they make it easy now with like Headspace and Calm. I would say try both of those apps out, and I'm sure there's more, but see like what you can do consistently.
So kind of those guided meditations are easier to get into just because you're kind of following instructions.
Right.
Rather than trying to sit there for 20, 30 minutes and like quiet your mind.
Right.
It's so difficult, right?
There's something I learned too in California. It was transcendental meditation. And I think that's pretty easy. I go in phases of different styles. Like I don't stick to one. It's just the cost of learning that is like higher. And when you can learn everything else like for free online. I mean, I'm sure if you YouTubed transcendental meditation, I'm sure there's someone teaching it.
Yeah, of course.
They have like, there's some woo-woo to it, and like your guide gives you your own, you know, mantra, and you're not supposed to like say it.
Yeah, I know.
But I Googled it, and I saw mine on there, and I saw like the group of them that they hand out. So either way, minus the woo-woo, it's good stuff. Yeah.
Okay. If you could have dinner, I'm scared to ask it, but You could have dinner with one person, dead or alive. Who would it be, and where would you take him?
Elon Musk on Mars. Why not?
Fair enough. Yeah. What would you guys be eating in Mars?
I don't know. Well, like, how does that
rocks.
work? Do you guys know?
Some
how that
astronaut
works?
toothpaste.
Yeah, something crazy. He'd probably have some. He'd be like, "Hey, you gotta try this." I'm like, "What is this?" "Oh, this is a new psychedelic." He'd be like,
You're like, sure, I'll try it.
Go ahead, Eddie. Last question.
That was a good one. What's the most common reason why people fail, in your opinion?
They don't. I mean, they give up. I mean, I've failed at a lot of things because I've given up. Granted, some of them were pivots where I didn't feel like it was right, so I would pivot. But there was definitely things that I had traction with that I gave up on, and then
What do you think people give up?
Why do I think they do? It's the end goal is always so far. Like I feel like you have to have little like wins, and like Dan, who's here, he was just talking about you have to celebrate those little wins too. I think that's really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last question. Yes, this is to every guest, open to interpretation. We are called the Ordinary Freaks. We are all ordinary freaks. I'm sure you're familiar with this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you? How much of a freak are you, and why?
I'm the weirdest and the freakiest. No, I'm dead ass right now. Like, for real. Like, I'm both. I'm weird. I'm freaky. And you guys can take that however way you want. And it is what it is.
Gotcha. Before we go, Tim, can you please let the people know where they can find you?
I am Tim Marchant on every social platform. I am Tim, Marchant. Also, 2916 Collective, everywhere.
Cool.
Dope.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Eddie. We'll see you next time, Ordinary Freaks.
Peace.
Peace.